Hey guys, it's been a while since I made a video. This is a temporary setup right now, so hopefully I can have something more permanent soon. Have an easier time making videos, and whether it's lessons or playing guitar or whatever. I wanted to talk to you guys about some basic theory, which will prevent you from getting into ruts or help you get out of ruts. It's more of a methodical approach. A 1 + 1 = 2. We're inspired when it comes to music, right? We go when we write music, it's usually off of pure inspiration. Like you had something in your head, you heard something else from somebody else, and it's like, man, that's great. I want to make something. But you get stuck along the way sometimes, and you need to know your options. You need to know, like I said, the 1 + 1 = 2, and it's like, oh, okay, I can do that. So today I'm gonna go over this stuff. Hopefully it will, help you out in some ways when it comes to writing, or maybe even improvising if you practice it enough and get it down pat well enough. So we're going to go over the modes of the major scale, scale degrees, and touch on some diatonic chord theory. Hang in there. You might have to watch this video a few times. You'll definitely have to practice applying it. You won't be able to just watch the video and be like, oh, I understand the universe now. You're going to have to practice it, apply it, and you'll get better at it, and it will come natural, just like anything else you've done on guitar or in your life. Hang in there. Let's do this. All right. So let's start with the basics. I know a lot of people already know this stuff, but we need to start with the basics. That way you don't miss anything along the way. So learning how to create the major or the Ionian mode, which, by the way, Ionian and major, people say major scale or Ionian mode. It's the same thing, really. I think there's some sort of difference where, like, one of them has to do with having a dominant chord or the harmony, and it's going back from a dominant chord back to the root. And I don't really know. Obviously, it's a very subtle difference, and you can go look it up and find out yourself. But if I say the major scale or the Ionian mode, it's basically the same thing. It might be confusing, but try not to let it confuse you, okay? Okay, so let's start from the beginning. The first mode of the major scale is the Ionian mode. Ionian, major, same thing. But you're going to need to know this mode like the back of your hand, because you're going to use this the rest of your musical career. Also, all the other modes we're going to learn are based off of this. So if you can learn this one, get it down pat, then it will make all the other modes easier to learn. So let's start with whole notes and half notes. A half note is 1 fret. A whole note is 2 frets. Right? You probably already knew that. But this is the formula. Where's it at? That's the formula for the Ionian mode. So let's do a whole note. We'll start on G. We like G. Whole note. Whole note. Half. Whole. Whole, half. And that's impractical. It doesn't work. We don't play guitar like that. So let's do it right? Same note. Let's do it linear or vertically, whatever. Right? Whole note. Whole note. Sorry. Same thing. Whole note. Half note, whole, 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 and a half. Right? So we're back to our octave again, and it starts all over. So that is the Ionian mode, first mode of the major scale. So let's try that again. Let's look at the G scale, G major. Right? Get that down pat. Learn that. That is going to be everything for you, okay? You can do this in every key. Right? Learn it in every key. Whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Oops, I can't even play. That sounds kind of like something. Look at that. All we did was play a mode. We played the scale, and we got a song. Simple, right? That's G. If we're playing in G, these are our scale degrees for the G scale, okay? The G major scale. And you're going to want to know these scale degrees because this is kind of how you communicate and understand and relate to all the other modes. We label all this stuff in music so you can communicate with other people. It's hard to explain things. You just can't say janka, 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 jank. Oh, and they say, oh, I know exactly what you mean on the guitar, what it sounds like, the rhythm, the key, the everything. No, it doesn't work that way. That's why we have, that's why we have everything labeled and categorized and all that stuff so we can communicate music effectively. So, learning these scale degrees is important. So, if we start with the first note of the G scale, G, that's the first degree. The second one, A, that's the second degree. B, third degree. C, fourth degree. D, fifth. E, sixth. F sharp, seventh. And then the last one is back to 1 because it's a G octave. Right? Those are your scale degrees. Simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, you've probably heard people say, oh, that's a 1, 4, 5. Play me a 1, 4, 5. Let's do that. So if we're doing a 1, 4, 5 in G, that means the first degree, the fourth degree, and the fifth degree in G. So look on that little chart. Where's it at? Right here. And tell me what that is, right? So let's just do power chords just to keep it easy, right? G. 4 is a C. And the D. Right? Excuse me. Hey, you know what that kind of sounds like? Like Wild Thing, right? That's a 1, 4, 5. Okay, we're just playing the first chord, the fourth chord, and the fifth chord. And we start back at 1. Well, hey, if we can play it in G, that means we can probably play it everywhere else, right? Let's do it in A. A major. Same thing. Same thing as G major. Same pattern, same sequence of notes. Okay, they're spaced out the exact same. Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Right? I got it right up there. We'll do it higher. Joy to the world, this song is great. Got an A note, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, back to your A. Right? How do we know? It's like usually doing octaves is pretty good with power chords. You can figure out a lot really fast with power chords and doing the octaves and the fifth. Oh. What note is that? Well, that's F sharp. G sharp. A. And just for the sake of doing it 3 times, because usually, do something about 3 times, it gets in your head. Well, let's do it on B major, right? We had G. We had A. Now we got B. Same thing. Right? We play it right here. You can play it in any key you want. Like, you can take this formation. Let's do G sharp. Let's do it in D. Right? You can play it in open notes. Ooh. Kind of might be a song or something, right? Kind of sounds a little country or something, doesn't it? You see where I'm going with this? Okay, so let's talk about the 7 modes of the major scale. As you can see, I've listed which number of the scale it is, which mode of the scale it is. I've listed the name and whether it's major or minor. You got your scale degrees right there, which I didn't do Roman numerals on this slide because it's just a lot to put in there. And if you see the B, the alt code for flatten did not work. So I just put a B. It's the closest thing I can find. And the hashtag or pound symbol, it means sharpen. So if you see a B, flatten that degree. If you see a pound sign, that means sharpen that degree. And then I've got a couple of adjectives to describe what the mode sounds like. That's just my opinion or a majority. You might think otherwise. But anyways, think of these modes as a feeling or a culture or a place. You want to think of these modes as some sort of adjective, not a series of numbers, okay? You don't learn Ionian mode and think, or a major scale and think, okay, that's just major. No, we want to think that's happy, that's joyful, which is why, listen, joy to the world, this song is joyful. That is super happy. So anytime you hear the major scale, then that's going to be happy, joyful, right? So if you hear all these other ones, you're going to think something different. Now I'll explain, I'll demonstrate, right? Let's just play a G. We've been on G. We're going to play a G power chord since the power chord's neutral. Right? Let's try Phrygian. Right? All right, that's Phrygian. You immediately heard how it went from being joyful, joy to the world, to Phrygian, where it's like, whoa, dark. These degrees up here show you something different under Phrygian, right? So for the first degree, it's the same. It's a 1. That's the G note. So we're going to change the second degree, which would be this on major. But with Phrygian, it says to flatten the second degree to this. Ooh. And it says to flatten the third degree. So what is the third degree for major? But in Phrygian, it would be. That's dark. That's already dark. And the fourth degree is the same. The fifth is the same. The sixth changes. It's flattened. Instead of this. See? So we flattened it. And then the seventh degree is flattened as well. Instead of this. That would be that in major. But in Phrygian it's. And then the octave, which is back on the 1. Oh. But what makes Phrygian real unique, and I'll talk about this soon, what makes Phrygian unique, or what makes your ears perk up, is when you play the flat 2, right? We flatted the second degree, and the flat 7, the 7th degree, which is this, or this. So if we play the flat 2, a lot of tension right there, right? And then the 7th degree, right? Play it down here. That's the octave, that's 1. And then that's your tension, 2nd degree. And then you play that 7th degree. And my cat's looking at you at the camera. Right? So that's Phrygian for you, and that's how we adjust from the Ionian mode and we know it like the back of our hand, but we just adjust the degrees a little bit by flattening or sharpening, and we get new modes. And what you see here, you're seeing a highlighted trigger note or signature note. That might be better, signature, for every mode. Okay. I think I found this slide on the internet, and I think they put trigger note because it triggers your ear. When you hear this note, this lets you know that that's what mode you're in. You know, that's like the key note that identifies that kind of, identifies the mode. So, like if we take the third mode of the major scale, which is Phrygian, and we hit that flattened second note, right? Well, Locrian also, if you look down here at the bottom, Locrian also has the flattened second, right? So, like I said, it's not always perfect, but I feel like there's a signature note, and then there's might be one or two other notes in the mode that support that signature note or trigger note. And that's what really makes the mode flourish. So like Phrygian, I've got the second one on there, but really that flattened seventh helps it out a lot too, right? Right? So you'll see that in other modes as well. All right, so now that I know that you have spent days or maybe even weeks learning your modes and your scale degrees and stuff, even though this has only been like a 17-minute video or something, you really have spent weeks learning those modes, right? Yeah. All right, so we're going to talk about some diatonic chord theory now. So all those modes that we learned, they have chords that go with them, okay? Or maybe I should say it like this. All those scales, like a G major scale, each one of those notes has a chord that goes with it. Ah, see? That has a chord that goes with it. That one does, that one does, that one does, that one does. So, but how do we know? How do we know which chord goes with the note, okay? It could be anything. It could be a chord like that, right? Just how do you know? Well, let's talk about that. Okay, so I've never explained this before. I've never taught anybody this, so I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. Bear with me. I'm going to give you references to other YouTube videos that might help you if I've made some gaps. But anyways, let's start with the G major, right? We've been on G major the whole video, right? So what are those scale degrees? What is the uppercase and lowercase, and what's that little circle over there on the F sharp? Well, uppercase means major, okay? By major, we play a G major, and by minor, we play an A minor, or the open chord. I want to keep this as bar chords though. Bar chords help me see better, maybe better for you to visualize as well. And the the little circle is diminished, all right? So we got an F sharp diminished, right? Or you can play it, I'm gonna play that. I think that's a half diminished, or is that full? I don't know. Either way. Anyways, that's what I'm gonna be playing for this video. So back to the one, G major, minor, A minor, B minor, C major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, back to your G, or what I did right there is reason why I didn't play it in this formation is because I feel like you can see fuller chords and more familiar chords, keeping it as low on the neck as you can. So if I'm playing bass notes real low, I can play familiar chords. Like, you know what a bar chord is. And you know what a bar chord is on the second string, right? You know that's major. And you know this is, I'm sorry, you know this is minor. And you know this is major. Right? But when you start getting down here playing 3 notes and stuff up high, you know, that's a minor. That starts losing people, I feel like. So we keep it low, keep it more familiar, and it's easier for you to learn. So what I did was, instead of doing this, I did this. Right? So let's try that again. G major, A minor. I could do B minor up here, or I could do it down here. Let's go to C. Major, D major, E minor, F sharp diminished, and then back to your G major. Now, I feel like there is no easy way to learn this quickly, all right? The hard way is to figure out your tonic chords, and I'm not going to talk about that in this video. It's not difficult, it's just long, okay? It's a building block. Learning tonic chords or triads are building blocks, but I'm not going to talk about this in this video. Instead, you could just memorize that the 1, 4, and 5 are major chords. All right. If you're starting off in Ionian major, you can remember the 1, 4, and 5 are major. Always major. Always major. Right? And just like I did it here earlier. Now, that if you can remember that, it helps you remember that everything else is going to be minor or diminished, right? If you can remember 1, 4, 5 is major, then minor will be 2, 3, 6, and diminished will be 7. Last one's diminished, right? Just like we had on our chart. Where's that chart at that I had? This one. Remember, I had the modes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and just like that, Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixed Lydian, Aeolian, and Locrian, those are all in the same order as this down here, because we're starting off playing major or Ionian mode. So now that we've learned the major, minor, and diminished chords of the Ionian mode, for example, we know that the 1, 4, and 5 are major, the 2, 3, and 6 are minor, and the 7th is diminished. So going forward, using the other modes, we can take that sequence and shift them and turn them into different modes. And what I mean by that is, if we took the Ionian mode and we look at that first degree, which is major, and we took that major out and we shifted it all the way over and plugged it in at the very end, then that first degree of Ionian becomes the last degree of Dorian. Okay? It's all like a big circle, like a big loop around, okay? That's what you got to remember. It's a circle of life. That's what we're doing here. So, let me give you a little better, a fuller, a bigger perspective. Don't let this overwhelm you so much. It's not that bad. One bite at a time. So remember, like I said, if you took the 1 from Ionian and you shifted it all the way down and brought it up, it becomes the 7 of Dorian. But when you do that, that means all the other degrees have to shift this way, right? So if you look at the chart here, you can kind of see a pattern. When you do that, the 2 of Ionian becomes the 1 of Dorian. The 3 of Ionian is the 1 of Phrygian. If you want to go from Ionian to Phrygian mode, The 3 from Ionian becomes the 1 of Phrygian. The 4 of Ionian becomes the 1 of Lydian. The 5 of Ionian becomes the 1 of Mixolydian, and so on and so forth. You can see the shift. I highlighted it right here with the 7th degree of Ionian, the diminished chord, because the little circle kind of stands out. So I highlighted that pattern, in each mode. So try to think about that. Try to remember that. If I give it to you if I apply it to the guitar, it kind of looks like this. Major, if we did G major, or I'm sorry, let me take the octave out. Right? That's Ionian. If we dropped that 1 and we moved it all the way down, if we took that 1 and you moved it all the way down, it becomes the last one for Dorian. So that means Dorian's got to shift, right? We got to shift Dorian. So Dorian becomes this. Just start playing the 2nd note of the major scale. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then if you want to play Phrygian, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 7. So it kind of goes from there. And if you go into the triads, it becomes, okay, so let's take some of those diatonic chords. We did them in Ionian, right? We did the major, minor, minor, major. 5th is major. 6th is minor. 7th is diminished. And then your last one back to your octave, which is, we already know that. We did the diatonic chords for Ionian. Let's do them for Dorian and a couple of others now, okay? So Dorian would be with the octave. So if we're going to put chords to each of those, let's look at our degrees up there and see if they're, upper or lower case. So Dorian starts off as minor. G Dorian. And then we got minor again. And then major. Major again. Minor. Diminished. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the diminished, which will be here. And then the last one will be major. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Major. And then, of course, back to the octave, which is minor. Do Phrygian now. Phrygian is... Well, how do I know that, Cohen? Cohen, how do I know that Phrygian are those notes? Well, remember we went back to whole steps and half steps at the very beginning. You remember that? You remember how we did that? You got the half, the whole half, whole half, and that was Ionian, right? Well, if you drop that W, remember I talked about the degrees and dropping them, and you moving them all the way to the end and plugging it in. Well, if you drop the W, the first 2 W's and throw them in the back, the H is Phrygian. All right. So half step, right? It'd be half, whole, 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 half. So that, you see with the pattern here. This kind of lets me know that Phrygian is the flattened second note. You take the major scale, but you change it. You flatten that second one from major to minor, or I'm sorry, from a whole to half. And then, you flatten the third, keep the 4th and 5th the same. You flatten the 6th, and you flatten the 7th. So, and then you have your octave. So that's how I know how to get my Phrygian. So let's do Phrygian, okay? Let's do the diatonic chords for Phrygian. Phrygian is... I went too far. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's Phrygian. So we start with the minor. Major's next. The second one, that's a major. Major. Third one's major. Fourth is minor. Fifth is diminished. Sixth is major. And the last one's minor. Back to G minor. And there we go. And you do the same thing for all of them. Lydian's the same way. We'll do Lydian. Right, Lydian is. That's Lydian. And it's major. So Lydian would be 1 major, 2 major, 3 minor, 4th diminished. And by the way, that 4th one for Lydian, that's what makes Lydian Lydian. Gives that spacey feel. So let's I got off track. I'm sorry. Major, major, minor, diminished from the 4th. 5th one's major. 6th one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6th is what? Minor. And the last one is minor too. And then back to your major. So if you took E Lydian. Oops, I'm sorry. That's, you can kind of hear Lydian right there. Oh. E Lydian's sounding kind of spacey. Oh, there we go. So now you see what I'm talking about when I went back to the where's my descriptions? When you go back to your modes and descriptions, I just played Lydian right there, right? It sounded, what did it sound like? Kind of spacey, kind of out of touch. It just kind of sounded weird. Okay, let's do one more. We'll do the Aeolian mode, or the minor. And, yeah, just because most of our music these days are played in major, Ionian, or minor, Aeolian. I don't know why. I guess it just, I don't know. Maybe they just grab your soul the most, you know? Whether it's super happy or super sad. Maybe that's why. Your minor music's played in a lot of rock and metal, a lot of epic stuff. You know, maybe more of a popular one would be like Evanescence, maybe like that long, drawn out female, you know, damsel in distress type stuff. Anyways, so let me show you. If you look at Aeolian right here, you see that the 1, 4, 5 are minor, but when you look at the major, the 1, 4, and 5 are major. So there's a little difference: 1, 4, 5 minor, 1, 4, 5 major. What you have to remember, though, is the 2, 3, 6, and 7 degrees. They're going to be different because of that diminished chord is different. The diminished chord changes. You remember how we drop the first one and move it along? Well, because you're dropping you know, the Aeolian mode is the 6th mode. As you can see in the Ionian right here, you got to go all the way down to that minor 6. And then that minor 6 becomes the 1 for Aeolian. You'll get the hang of it, but here you go. G minor. Next one's A diminished. Kind of weird off the bat. You could probably play minor right there and it still sound good. And A sharp major. C minor. D minor. And then what's the next one? We got a major, D sharp major, and then F major, and then back to your minor. You can hear it, right? You can. Anyways, you kind of those two major chords. Those are really good at like making it go, oh, something's about to happen, something's about to happen. Oh, we're kind of mellowing out. So like those two right there build up. It's like, oh man, epic. That's why they say that in relation to minor. All right, guys. Just a quick tip going forward, something easy to remember. It doesn't always have to be this way. But general rule of thumb is if you play in a major key, play in a major mode. So Ionian, Lydian, Mixolydian, play in one of those three if you're playing in a major key. If you're playing in a minor key, then play in a minor mode. Same thing. Dorian, Phrygian, Aeolian, maybe a little Locrian. Don't hang around in there too long. Anyways, keep it simple. That's a good rule of thumb. You're going to sound good. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for today. I didn't want to get too crazy into things. This is just basic theory. This is kind of like your building block for writing a song. I don't want you to think this way necessarily. You shouldn't. Most guitar players don't, or musicians or whatever. This is a tool. This is how you get yourself out of a rut or from getting into one, or when you have, writer's block. All right, 1 + 1 = 2. That's how you get to 2. This is you plus some theory equals getting you to an answer that you didn't know before. There are better people out here to teach this type of stuff. I hope I didn't confuse you. I'm going to provide some links in the description, things that I learned from that can probably teach you better than I did. But I hope I at least got you started, at least got you curious. I don't want you to feel scared about this stuff, because I was for the longest time. I was so scared of it. And, having 20-something guitar years under my belt and then trying to learn it, a lot of this was just like, oh, yeah, I do that all the time. Okay, that's all that is? Okay, well, now I can make sense out of it, and now I can communicate this to other players, other musicians. Just one bite at a time, piece it all together. Anyways, you guys take care. Have a good one.